Hey everyone, it's Angelica Cole, and it's been about 2 weeks since Alexis Sharkey was found dead, and I think we have more questions than answers at this point. I don't think that there's any solid information coming out. There's been no arrests made. At this point, the only information we have is coming from her friends, and we don't know if we can even trust her friends. So I'm just going to reiterate some of the very basic questions that we all have, starting with, did her lifestyle really change when she moved to Houston? Tom has come out and said that her lifestyle had changed a lot since they moved from Odessa, and that the friends that she accumulated in Houston were maybe not the best. So we looked back on her Instagram, and it does look like back in 2015 she was posting really good, healthy pictures. But along with those healthy posts in 2015, there's definitely some posts of her still going out partying and drinking and, being young and living that social life. So it really doesn't seem like too much has changed about her lifestyle as far as that part goes. It is rumored that her and Tom met while she worked at Twin Peaks in Odessa, and certainly that looks like kind of a risque club. But obviously on her social media, she's not going to be showing illegal drug use, and that is what's speculated to have been in her apartment, shrooms, marijuana, and possibly cocaine. And so those things aren't going to be real evident, especially in such a pretty girl who's young. It's going to take a long time to really show the effects of those kinds of drugs. So it is hard to tell still, was she partying back in Odessa the way that she maybe partied in Houston? Who knows? It's hard to say. The next question is, was Tom really as controlling as Alexis's friends have suggested online? And this is a tough one because on one hand, you've got this picture that emerged online that shows Alexis and Tom picking out wedding dresses where he seems to be very much involved. And that seems very controlling to me. On the other hand, you've got Alexis out there living her best life. She made a post on Instagram that she had traveled 135 days in the last year, and she was really excited about traveling. Most of her posts were when she was traveling with her friends. So with that being said, another question that I would have is if Alexis is traveling for 135 days out of the year, that's basically a third of the year, and Tom is also traveling a majority of the year. He had stated that he had only been in town for like 18 days out of the last several months. How much are these two really even seeing each other? Another question that people have been asking is why didn't she post for Black Friday? Her friends are saying that she was huge into Monet, she had been prepping for Black Friday sales all week, and that it was really, really strange that she hadn't made any posts. Online, her friend Allie Kale came out and said that that was one of the biggest red flags for her. They had a ton of sales going on, she always posted about work. Why wasn't she posting on Black Friday? It's kind of unclear, though, if this is something we should even be worried about. A couple of other people have come out and said that Alexis was an executive director now, and that she really was more in charge of coaching her team, and that she was active with her team until noon, so she really was doing her job on that end. It is rumored that Alexis had a stalker. She had 20,000 Instagram followers and 50,000 TikTok followers. It does seem unlikely that a stalker would have been there at the exact moment that she would have exited her apartment. However, with that many followers and with people these days, I guess it's definitely something to keep in mind.
Every Instagram post are also something for detectives to look at.
In this particular instance, with 20,000 plus followers, I mean, those people all potentially could be, they could have some sort of, axe to grind or something with this person.
Question is something that I've really been struggling with. Would Tom really leave her naked like that? It really seems peculiar for somebody who was so obsessed with her to be willing to leave her exposed to other people. That part has been really strange for me to try to wrap my head around. He seems like somebody who's far too obsessed with her to want anybody else to see her, and it seems like somebody else who would have dumped her would have really not cared about how she was found. They didn't do anything to try to cover her up. So this is something that I particularly have been struggling with if it were Tom. Next question that we have might be the biggest of all. Are her friends telling the truth about the abuse by Tom? This question is huge because basically all the evidence in the case is riding on the fact that Tom was abusing Alexis. So if this isn't true, it really could just be some master plan to point the finger at Tom. And then you have the credibility of her friend Tanya Ricardo that's really been called into question. She was the most outspoken person on the media at first, and then people found out that she underwent surgery to look like Meghan Markle. And then all speculation went wild. People said that Tanya was clearly jealous and that she clearly wanted what Alexis had. People also speculated that maybe her and Tom were having an affair and that they killed her and disposed of her together because the car that he reported was a black vehicle and that supposedly matched the vehicle of Tanya's. Which brings me to the next question. Did she get in a black car? Is that part true? Tom states that they got into a fight and that he saw her get into a black car. Tom later retracted that statement and said that they weren't fighting, he just simply didn't want her to drive under the influence. A friend of Tom's took to the internet in support and stated that everything he had told authorities was true, his story hadn't changed one bit, and that he had actually been on the phone with him the night she left in that car, and they spoke while he was out driving around looking for her in Houston. So if we believe Tom and Alexis did get into a black vehicle, whose was it? Was it an Uber? Was it a friend of hers? Is this Tom's subliminal way of telling us that he put her in the back of his own vehicle? So unfortunately for Lexi's family and friends, we're just left with more and more questions. Who saw her last? Where is her phone? Where are her clothes? Did Tom really show up at the morgue? Did Tanya show up at her house after just one missed text? What questions do you have? Comment below, let's discuss, and let's also continue to fight for justice for Lexi. Thanks for watching.
He later retracted that statement, though, and said that they weren't actually fighting, but that she was just intoxicated and that he had urged her not to drink and drive.